All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, you're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV, and we're talking insecurity and the welfare of servicemen. And we have a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Wilson Inalegu, here with us to talk to us about some of the issues, making headway. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak. It's nice having you on the program. Now, according to reports, the Nigeria Police has the worst welfare program for both serving and retired men. Would you say that this is also fueling the lack of success we are seeing, in the fight against insecurity in the country?
It's a pleasure for me to be here. First of all, where you have the Nigeria Police Force is the primary agency of government that is responsible for internal security. In other words, the NPF has primacy when it comes to internal security issues. Now, for you to be able to perform optimally in the prevention of crime, investigation of crime, control of crime generally, there should be a level of motivation that can boost the morale of officers. Unfortunately, the story has not been very palatable. Personnel of the NPF have not been adequately taken care of. But it did in terms of shelter, in terms of allowances, in terms of salary, pension, and the rest of it. So, of course, this has militating effect, but there are multiple factors responsible for the rise in crime. But if the agency that is charged, primarily responsible for this, and the morale is not as high as should be, unfortunately it didn't start today, it's been there for a long time. The barracks, terrible. If you go to Nyanya, it's an eyesore. But it didn't start today. It didn't start with this IG, it didn't start with the former IG. It's been long coming. And when you look at your counterparts in other services and where they live, it's better. When you go to the bank to collect your pension, I recall an ASP who went with an Air Force warrant officer from the same village in my area. He says, we went to the bank. That man collected 96,000 for his pension. I collected 25,000. And these things have demoralizing effect. And so, when you want to fight crime, you've got to prioritize the welfare of personnel. Look at the number of police officers that die in the line of duty. What is the condition of their families? So, the issue of rising crime and all that, yes, there is a correlation, but not completely responsible. The factors are so many. But I think we've got to prioritize the welfare of our personnel. Because you see some of the exchange that happen. When you have personnel run 12 hours, some 24 hours, and there is no other way. Because when you go to the divisions, how many officers do you have there? Therefore, those that you have, the commander, the local unit commander or the DPO has no choice to say, okay, we can't cover 8 hours. When I was appointed into the Nigeria Police Force, we were running 8-hour shift, in which case you can go home, prepare and come. But if I have to do 12 hours, I get to the house before I could even, if I live in Suleja and I'm working in Garki, before I come, it takes so long. Tell me, if I go on duty, the officers are not likely to sleep on duty. And when you are posted to a beat and you sleep on duty, you cannot be said to be offering effective service. So welfare has got a lot to do. But like I want to repeat, it did not start with this IG or even the previous IG, but it is something that police reform, several committees, police reform, police reorganization. But central to all of this is the issue of welfare. When, let me tell you, as a commissioner of police, when personnel die in the line of duty, their burial, the burial expenses never get paid. They accumulated. I think the recent approval given by the president spanned, I think, from 2012 to date. That means you ask the DPU or the commissioner of police or the community where these officers hail from have to organize themselves to get a bus, to get the casket, and to convey, and to wait for 3-4 years before the family is even able to get the burial expenses, which should have been even paid before this officer. So tell me, those who are there, is it going to be easy for them? So I think the issue of budget has got to be addressed. The police trust fund, I think, is a welcome development. I appeal that it will continue to be allowed to function. And the police pension, thank God the police has its own pension this year, but the take home at the end of the month is very difficult for officers who have retired. And this does not encourage this personnel. So even in the Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter, physiological needs, these are important. I should be able to send your children to school, pay salary. If you have a motorbike, you should be able to buy tire once it is bad. I mean, it's something that should be done. But I think the welfare of Nigerian police officers is so poor. When I went on mission several years ago, my mission subsistence allowance for 2 days with the UN was my monthly salary in Nigeria. My daily mission subsistence allowance for 2 days had covered my monthly salary and exchange. So it's such a terrible thing.
It's really interesting to hear all of that from you. Now, this question is going to be kind of on the flip side. You will agree with me that the Nigeria police, is already struggling with image problem, and this is further exacerbated by the fact that the Nigerian police like to collect bribes, and a lot of people, quite a number of people, complain about this. So is this a justification, for them to actually do that?
Come in again.
The Nigerian police like to collect bribe, and a lot of people, you'll agree with me that the Nigerian police, is struggling with image problem. So is the lack of welfare, a factor failing this?
Well, the NPF is a product of its high environment. I wouldn't think that the NPF is more corrupt unfortunately, than other agencies. And yes, NPF struggles with image. But if Nigerians realize the police they have, they would handle them even with more love, care, and consideration. And I say it with all sense of responsibility. I have had the privilege of serving outside the shores of Nigeria with police forces from more than 27 countries, in fact, in one case, up to 50 countries. And the NPF holds its head high. When we were in Namibia in 1989-90, we were rated as one of the best police forces. But if the Nigerians realize, they will get to trust and have confidence and treat their police force. I am not saying there are no areas of improvement. Of course, for every institution, there are areas of improvement. But if you go very close for journalists and others who work closely with the MPF. Yes, there are issues of corruption. You are on the road, you collect 5 naira, 100 naira, you stop people. And these are things that successive police management work every day to deal with. And the MPF continually continue to deal with staff that fall out of place. And so my appeal, therefore, is that the MPF personnel are no angels, but I'm telling you that a lot is going on to deal with disciplinary issues. Officers are continually dismissed, they are disciplined, but unfortunately, some officers still go with all that the management is doing to bring professionalism. There are still bad eggs. Of course, among the 12, you always find a Judas, and those people are never treated with kid gloves. So it's not the system permitting officers to do. But then, when the welfare is bad, some of them also go out of their way. Because if you, I always pose this question. If you're a member of the House of the National Assembly, and when you visit your constituency, how many police stations have you taken time to visit? What questions do you ask the DPO or the OC? What is your fuel supply per week for your patrol vehicle? What is the maintenance level? I mean, these are things that Nigerians should interrogate, and journalists. It's important to check. And then you ask yourself, DPO, then how are you buying fuel for your vehicle? Those guys on patrol, how are you buying fuel for your patrol vehicle? It's such a whereby they give you, as a commissioner of police, I was at this police staff college. I was heading a unit, the Central Planning and Training Unit. In a quarter, my allocation was 25 to 30,000. I was expected to buy fuel. I was expected to maintain the pickup that is not new. And so most of the time we just park it, and I use my private car, go to work and back. So the question is sad when officers engage in corrupt practice, because it will demean, because the public is supposed to have confidence and trust that when I make a report, the outcome will not be influenced by corrupt practice, that a complainant will not become a suspect because he greased the palm of officers. But officers, senior officers, are doing a lot to ensure that the officers comply. But but personnel of the force should recognize that when you engage in corrupt practice, there should be that fear of losing something, that this organization, if I'm dismissed, and it happens. And that is why some of them, after 10 years, they are still fighting to come back. But the lack of adequate welfare, I see some officers who do not have the capacity to cope, to engage in unwholesome practice, which has demeaned the name of the force. You will not know that this MPF, when you go outside Nigeria, when we work in team sites, as they call them, like various places, and our colleagues from other nations, the UK police, the Indians, and they say, look, when you have a station, because they ask nationalities to head some stations, everybody want to work with personnel of the MPF, because these guys work, they're never tired, they're well taken care of, they have vehicles to work with. In Nigeria, you have a division of 200 personnel, you have only 1 rickety or 2 rickety vehicles, whereas the standard is about 2 or 3 police officers to 1 vehicle. There is no police division in Nigeria that has vehicles that personnel can patrol. If so, the tools, even the tools to work, in addition to welfare, are not even there. How can you patrol? How can you respond? Of course, we're lucky. In the FCT is a little bit lucky. When the former one-time minister, Dr. Ali Modibo, was there, he bought a lot of vehicles, and the people of the FCT saw that the MPF can be effective, the MPF can be professional, the MPF can be responsible. So these are things that people in position should make effort to utilize the security vote they have transparently, to assist their communities by providing the tools and the welfare needed so that the MPF can be the force for good.
We really hope that happens. Now, Mr. Stephen Okori is still with us in the studio. He's not out of the conversation. You've heard from Mr. Wilson, image problem and welfare. What are your thoughts about that?
For me, I think it's disheartening that at this point in time, the 21st century, we are talking about tools to work with and the welfare of the police. If you look at it, the police is like, I think they are 92 years old. So for me, I think that would have gone past this level of talking about tools, welfare for the police to make them succeed in carrying out discharging their duties. For the police to succeed, this welfare and the tools, they are major factors that will enable them to prevent crime or fight crime in this country. So I think that succession plans within the police is also contributing to these issues we are talking about. Every IG that is appointed comes with his own policy or programs, meaning that the outgone one's own policy or programs are abandoned. He comes with his own new policy and programs, and he wants to take or shine or take the day during his tenure. I think that it should be, the Nigerian police is one, is an institution that is saddled the responsibility of providing, what do you call it, protecting lives and property of citizens, fighting the internal security challenges or issues. So it's not a personal institution. There should be policies and programs on ground. If an IG goes, a new one comes on board, it should continue like that. Right. But it doesn't even happen like that, for me, the way I look at it. So succession plans should be on ground. A new one comes in, he takes over from there, and he continues with whatever the previous one has stopped. Like, for instance, the community policing thing that we're talking about. So a couple of months or years ago, 13-point-something billion naira was released to kickstart the process. How far did that funds go? We're not even talking about that. So for me, I think that there's a lot that we need to do. This is 92 years that we've had police in existence. It's even older than Nigeria. So there's a lot, there's the systemic problem too. The system, for me, it's okay. The operators of the system, who happens to be police themselves, what are they doing? Because if you listen to what the AIG said about burials of police officers that die in the line of duty, they are buried after 3-4 years. That is when they begin to see how to struggle to get monies that are supposed to be paid for their burial.
Quite tragic.
So very, very, very tragic. So it goes to show that the operators of the system, who happens to be police officers, are messing up. So for me, I think that certain punishment should be melted for people like that, because it's disheartening because they will fall, all of them are vulnerable in what we are talking about. Nobody owns life. Right. It can happen to them. So if you are in the system, you make it work.
Interesting. I think I'll direct this, at Mr. Wilson. He talked about there's a form of corrupt, practice happening within the Nigerian police force. Would you say that is also failing, the whole situation that we're seeing with the lack of welfare, in the Nigerian police force?
First of all, I support the fact that any fund that is released to the MPF should be judiciously utilized to meet the pressing needs and urgent needs of the MPF. But how much is being released? After paying salaries, what do you have to work with? I think it's recognition of that the Police Trust Fund was set up. And I'm not trying to absolve some people of corrupt practice, but I think we have checks and balances. We have supervision and the rest of them. If you put it that it is solely corruption that is responsible for that, then I think, because I think the last approval the president granted for payment of accumulated burial expenses took so many years. So if somebody had played with that funds, I'm sure the person would have been held accountable. So in as much as we talk about the issues of corruption, which I will not say don't exist, we've got to ask how much is voted for the MPF? How much is released? What is it able to do? Because that is one thing I think we need to address. The issue of succession plan, and I think the successive management of MPF comes with strategies, the community policing, intelligence-led policing, and the rest of them. Now, I think no IG can come and say, look, I'm not following community policing, even before it was pronounced. Even the man who is just entering the police to have the basic training understands that without the public, I cannot succeed. So that scheme is still alive in the various IGs, and I think it's been improved upon. So if anybody comes and say, look, my strategy, welfare for officers, intelligence-led policing, community policing, whichever way you call it, police is such an institution that the issue of management of crime and all that, there are laid down procedures. The changes are very, 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 very slight. But I agree with you that it should be in place in such a way that might be in the next 4 years, 6 years, we should know who those likely to become IG and should have some kind of mentoring and the rest of them. But if we just ascribe it that the officers on top are chopping all the money and that is why the welfare of personnel, I don't know how an IG can be giving money to build the barracks or renovate the barracks and will take the money and nothing will happen. I think one thing, when you interact with senior police officers, you see their pain. They want to work, but where is the money? So if you just believe that, oh, they have eaten all the money, something would have, happened. Let us, and we all have a role to play. When we are saying community policing, it's about the police and the community coming together to adopt common approach to solve problems. So if the community believes that, look, my division, they've given them money. Each time you call them, they say there is no fuel. There are laid down procedures they can follow. And the police is one that has the greatest checks and balances. You have the Ministry of Police Affairs. You have the Police Service Commission. You have the Complaints Response Unit, I think, CRU. You have the various levels. So police is extremely transparent that the public can come and say, look, each time we call on this, they say they don't have fuel. It's something that can also be investigated. Okay, you are not giving fuel. We gave this amount for fuel. Why are they not responding? So there are methods of checking. I am not trying to hold brief for any person whatsoever, but I'm just trying to say, look, pick the budget of the police and study it carefully. Thank God that the budgets, once the president signs it, they become public documents. You go to the National Assembly, you go to the government printer, you can get soft copy, you can get hard copies. And you study it, it's okay. And in that way, you are, even the Freedom of Information Act also that was passed. So let us join hands with the government, with the citizens, to support the police. It's not only in the way of giving information, but going deeper than the surface to look at the utilization of budget, because the budgets that are made, they are not result result-oriented budgeting. You just give an envelope. You don't just say, okay, we have insurgency or banditry in the Northwest in 5, 6 states. What if the IG comes through, we have this, but okay, how do you deal with it? Sir, we don't have fuel, we don't have a vehicle, we don't have personnel. Okay, what can you do to do it? Okay, if you fuel our helicopters, you buy us vehicles, okay, we are going to buy this for you. Within 3 months, within 6 months, what are you likely to achieve with it? Okay, we can bring it down by 50%. We can bring it down by 20%. And every month or every quarter, you are holding that officer accountable. How many of our public officers even sit with their commissioners of police to look at the issue of crime critically? So if you just ascribe it to corruption, you'll be missing the point. It's about being responsible. It's about taking it as your duty. And that's what happens in other places. You are a county police officer, police chief. You meet with the elected officials and you present a budget. They give you the rate of might be crime, sexual violence, rape, and other things. And it's okay. What do you need to deal with this crime? They say, okay, we need this, we need that. And they hold you to it. Because what does not, the Englishman said, what does not get measured does not get done. So how many governors, how many chairmen, on a weekend, once in 3 months, you sit with your commissioner of police, you begin to review your crime. This is what he requested for. If you give me this, I'll deal with that. And even the community can also interrogate their OC or DPO. Oh, DPO, you say your vehicles are broken down. We have contributed money. We fixed it for you. Yet, our women can't go to the market. They get mocked when they go to the market. You see, when you begin to follow this, that is why when we say policing is everybody's responsibility. It's not everybody carrying gun. It's not everybody giving information, but everybody making that guy in that position doing what he's supposed to do.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, the level of personnel the MPF has is grossly understaffed. Because when you don't have all the required technology you need, which should be force multiplier, it means you've got to have more officers on patrol on the streets.
Okay, I think I'm going to hold you there. We're going to get back to that conversation. I would like to hear from Mr. Stephen now. There are reports that the Nigerian police, particularly the ones from the junior cadre, are going to be staging a protest on the 26th of March. Would you say that is going to change anything? Would that influence any change? And also, would you say there is synergy, between the Nigerian security operatives?
I think the hierarchy of the Nigerian police have debunked that statement saying that the police are going to go on strike or protest. But for me, if we allow such a situation to happen, such event to happen, then it means that it's a failure on the part of the government, because whether we like it or not, when you go to the street and begin to ask questions about the activities of the Nigerian police from citizens, a lot of them will say things that won't be palatable to our ears, but despite that, you cannot take the service that they render in protecting citizens of this country for granted. The police are doing quite a lot. They're doing quite a lot. So I expect that whatever they are trying to protest for, the government should critically look into it, because it doesn't tell well for a country like Nigeria to be in the news that their police other ranks are trying to protest or are protesting against certain things that is not due to them, because the fact of the matter is that they are in the line of duty. They are the ones. They are taking a lot of risk on behalf of citizens of this country. Sometimes when I travel and I see them on the road, maybe at night, and they flag you down, I begin to look at the risk that they are taking for us as citizens of this country, because the person that they are flagging down, they don't even know what the person is carrying. We have seen situations where a lot of them were killed on the highway. Some time ago in this Galadimawa roundabout here in Abuja, about 6 of them were killed. And it's happening in some other places. Even during the NSAS period, about 22 of the police officers were also killed. So they take risk on behalf of us. So I think that the government needs to provide everything that is required of them, to see that the police function very, very well. Just the way I said, police is 92 years old, so there are certain things we shouldn't be talking on TV about what the police requires to function very well.
Really very interesting. Now, Mr. Wilson, earlier you talked about the risks, the Nigerian police is always taking on behalf, of the people. And also you talked about, synergy between the people, and the Nigerian police. In your assessment, would you say there is enough synergy, that will help us win the fight against insecurity in Nigeria?
I think that's to some extent the missing link, because some members of the public view the police with suspicion, and so the cooperation and collaboration they should maintain with the personnel of the force is not accorded that important attention. But you've got to trust your police, and then coordination and synergy among security agencies, I think it still calls for improvement. And another thing is, I think there is a need. This government, you don't have money, and there is a kind of proliferation of security agencies with duplication of duty. And this is a man who cannot maintain one wife. He's marrying more wives. It's going to cause problem. So I think government should address the issue of proliferation that lead to sometimes interagency rivalry. Some, we will not say it is correct, but these things happen. For any security, for any community or society to have effective security, all must become partakers. All must become stakeholders. And in the stakeholder, you bring your contribution. Even the CCTV you have privately installed in your house, there are periods that if you see certain things recorded on that, you find a way of passing it to the police. The government does not have to put CCTV in every nook and cranny before you say there's CCTV. A lot of homes in our urban centers have CCTV. All this, they should help the police and other security agencies. So if there is effective synergy, we are going to drive down crime without firing shots. When you talk about kidnap, mass kidnap and all, people negotiate to collect ransom. Maybe some of these monies are even paid to financial institutions or banks. Maybe they go to the market to buy animals or other things. The cooperation, collaboration, and coordination between the police and the public, the police and other security agencies will go a long way to drive down crime. In that community, somebody just comes, you've not seen him before, you're a food seller, he comes to buy food for 10 individuals, for 15, you've never seen him, you didn't raise it, you didn't tell the village head, you didn't tell the ward head, you didn't tell your husband or somebody to say, look, some people came to buy food, they bought 20 loaves of bread, I have never seen them before. In this way, you are multiplying the force. You are multiplying the personnel because you are doing what they are supposed to do. I think there is still room for improvement in coordination, in collaboration, and synergy among security agencies. Once we do that, we will bring every crime, no matter how serious, be it banditry, be it the crime, terrorism, armed robbery, bank robbery, because these people gather. So, people operating gardens, people in hotels, people in salon, either barbing or otherwise, people operating Okada, taxi drivers, NURTW shouldn't be collecting only ticket on the road, in the park, and fighting over their collection, they should cooperate. They should measure their performance. Within 3 months, how many times have I gone to greet the DPO? Not even with money. So there is the need for collaboration. There is a need to support security agencies, especially the MPF, lay their living conditions so that when they wake up from that fairly okay house and they're on the road, there will be more civility because he slept well.
Right. Okay, now quickly before we wrap up, the program, in just 1 minute, you would agree with me that at the moment we are short on security operatives, and that too given to the fact that we lost quite a number, of security operatives in the last 1 year. So what is the way forward? Is it to recruit more, or what should the government do at this time?
There's a need to embark on accelerated recruitment exercise. Possibly the Police Service Commission and the IG set up a task force for accelerated recruitment, so that, and then make more spaces available for training of these officers, even engage some retired officers competent, so that you can expand. There is a need to beef up the number of personnel at the various divisions. The number right now, I think, is not adequate to carry out the onerous responsibility they are tasked with. 2, I think there is a need to have a kind of, I left the force, it's up to 3 years now. There might be a registered mortgage finance institution, just like the police community bank, the police pension administration. Maybe we should have a mortgage finance for the MPF, just like we have the community policing, so that the junior officers will go. Maybe the police money, the police personnel who are with the Federal Mortgage Bank, the police can be permitted to exit the Federal Mortgage Bank arrangement, and the police will have her own police mortgage finance house that will make it less cumbersome.
Right.
Because when I retired from the force,
it looks like I'll have to cut you
yes,
short because
thank you.
we have we don't have much time. Let's just get final thoughts, from Mr. Stephen.
Okay, I think that the current hierarchy of the police under the leadership of Alkali Baba should carry out the task of putting the needs assessment package together, what the police needs to see how to function very well. Put it together. In that package, recruitment, welfare, and all that will be contained in it, and see how to make a good presentation to the executive and to the National Assembly to see how to support them in exercising or making those needs come out very well.
Really, really interesting, and we look forward to seeing that being implemented. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. We've been speaking with a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Wilson Inagulu, and also security consultant Stephen Okoro, talking to us about security and the welfare of our security operatives. Well, with this, we've come to the end of Daybreak for today. It's been quite interesting, and if you've missed, you can catch up with us across all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. See you tomorrow.